So you wanna make a Lego game using some big property, but you already did Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Lord of the Rings. Well, I think there's still one option that you've yet to explore. It's the series about a girl and her robotic dinosaurs. Now I know what you're all thinking, hey, isn't this a bit of a stretch? Horizon's fan base has been shrinking. It might be pretty, but there's always a catch. I've only met one person in my whole damn life who had an insatiable Horizon appetite. Everybody else doesn't care that much, but Herman Hulse doesn't really give a fuck. So here you go, world, it's Horizon again. If you got money, it's time to spend. It's got multiplayer, find a friend. Open up your mouth, girl, let me pour some Horizon in. It's sweet like honey, so give us all your money. Oh wait, oh fuck, no one's buying the game. I thought Horizon was as cool as Star Wars. I guess it turns out it's just kinda lame. Ooh, holy crap, oh no, why doesn't anybody care? Horizon is just as cool as all those other Lego games. Even though the evidence makes it seem like it's irrelevant, Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. All of its fans must have been lying. Lego Horizon flopped, Horizon. Guess Sony is gonna have to try again. Skeep-a-doop-bop-boop, deep-a-deep-a-doo-da, Robo-dino-skip-bop-skip-bop, beep-a-deep-a-deep-a-boo-bop, going till the doo-da-beep-bop-a-noo-ta. Horizon should never had a Lego game. Whoever greenlit that must have been fucking insane. Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. All of its fans must have been lying. Lego Horizon flopped, Horizon. Guess Sony is gonna have to try again. Sorry Herman Hulse, guess he didn't make a new Star Wars after all. Sorry Herman Hulse, just another day of ya dropping the ball.
Imagine a hero shooter where the hero never showed.
That's most definitely what's up.
Imagine a game with a player base that just refused to grow. A 5v5 hero shooter with gameplay that's just okay, and characters that remind me of Tupperware and white bread. No, I'm not talking about Overwatch. Please stop bringing up Overwatch.
I'm vibing!
This game is not Overwatch. It's actually something else. Imagine a game with a story that no one watches. A game that costs $40 that Sony totally botches. It has all my favorite characters, like Lemmy, Dawn, and Craig. At least, I think that's what their names are. I never bothered to check. Concord like the grave, your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boop-a-doop-ba, keep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ba, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Concord, we're here to lay you to rest. We know you tried your best. You copied so much cool stuff just to turn out lame in the end. I'll never forget my favorite moments, like when Hot Sauce Guy jumped. Remember when he jumped? That was really cool. A rat just ran by on my desk, and even the rat didn't want to play Concord, even though I blessed him with the chance. The $40 he could afford, but the rat just stared on in a trance. Rat, 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 rat. Concord Costco guys made more money than you. They were just on Jimmy Fallon too. Imagine Lennox being on Jimmy Fallon, because I literally can't. The rat on my desk is eating all my Cheerios and grapes. And also Concord is dead. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Rat-a-ta-ta beep-a-da boom. Skim milk the rat fleet. Doo-da, doo-da. A guy said he really liked it, and then a bunch of rats ate his face. That's the sound he made when Concord passed away. I wish things turned out different, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's dead, Concord's dead, and boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody overslept. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. Holy crap, Lois, Concord's dead. When the game out, people played everything else instead.
Welcome everybody. We're here mourning the loss of our rat friend. A bunch of rats did eat his face. Rat. But we're here even still. We ain't giving up. We ain't moving on. We have some stuff to talk about today. Of course, we heard about Death Stranding 2. First deep dive look in a bit. So we're going to talk all about that. Want to talk about Atomfall as well. There's some stuff about the Switch 2 we're going to touch on. It's going to be a good day, I feel like we're going to have a good time. How are you guys? Nice shirt, thank you. It's important to remember the fundamentals, such as the fact that there is, in fact, always money in the banana stand. And the sooner we all remember that and appreciate it, the sooner we can get this country back on track.
OMG_It's Elijah 23 donated $3.
Booyah.
Hey Luke, I've always been a console gamer and want to get a PC because I'm not thrilled with this gen's performance, but I get very overwhelmed with all the different parts and how to even set up and maintain a PC. Any tips?
Kind of two options. For one, you can look up a build guide. There's this really good build guide that I followed. It's actually kind of hard to find nowadays. You have to specifically find re-uploads of it, but this guy did a tremendous build guide that it actually was so good it went viral. It was part of The Verge's. No, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm kidding. This guy went viral for being really bad at building a PC. But the point is, don't follow this guy. Instead, follow Linus Tech Tips or I mean, honestly, there's a bajillion channels out there that have done PC build guides. So you can follow those. You can put it together. The simplest way to do it is to go to something like PCPartPicker.com. Looks like this. And basically all you do is you go through and you choose the parts that you want. Ooh, I want a 9800 X3D. Okay, add that to the build. It adds that. And what it's going to do is it's going to check compatibility for everything. So if you're worried about oh, does this CPU work on this motherboard? Well, you can see I just selected that. It's already selected. I don't know. I go here. Let's click on this one. You see this part has potential issues or incompatibilities. Select that. Then you can see CPU sockets. It requires an AM5, but the motherboard I picked, it's not actually fitting with the CPU I picked. So you can go through and actually manually select that. As you can see here, AM5. So it actually helps you build it and make sure everything's compatible. And it actually works very well. If you don't want to do that, you can even just go to guides and you can find guides and builds people have already designed at different price brackets. And then from there, you can basically just add all of it to your cart on Amazon and order everything. So it's not anywhere near as hard as it used to be. There's tons of amazing tools. If you don't want to do that, you can go to a PC builder like Apex or I know CyberPower does it. iBuyPower I've heard mixed things about. What's the one that Asmon and that like the OTK crew owns? It's like Star or something. I don't know. But there's a lot of like pre-built or rather PC builders that you can pay to build it. You'll pay a premium, of course, but they'll do it. Starforge. That's it. Starforge. Thank you. So there's options. But the point is, it's nowhere near as crazy as it used to be. It used to be like you kind of really need to know your stuff. Nowadays, it's really not that big of a deal. You just follow a guide. It's pretty straightforward. You know, it's basically adult Legos, but like I think it's even harder to screw up because at least with Legos, you can set it up wrong. You can build half of the Hogwarts castle. And because you put the foundation slightly off, none of the pieces fit together on the top bit. Then, you know, you got to undo all of it. With a PC, you plug the pieces in. If it's done incorrectly, it just won't work. And so, oh, well, you know, I think you can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. Yeah, I believe in you. My 10-year-old niece built one. I'm sure you can build one today. It's so easy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really is. It's intimidating. I get it. It's intimidating. But even now, like, it's way easier than you probably think. A lot of cases come with fans already inside. Like, it really is not that big of a deal. So I encourage you to try it. Just set aside a Saturday afternoon, work on it, and you can do it. You can do it. After you do it, I swear, you're going to go like, okay, that was so easy. Why have I not done this before? Like, seriously, it's going to be really daunting and scary. And then you're going to do it and you're going to be like, oh my God, why haven't I been doing this? Like, why didn't I do that a year ago? You know, it's great. Let's see. Samaya, thank you for that. I've been playing Indiana Jones and I prefer it over Uncharted and Tomb Raider. Have I sinned? You might just like first-person games more, frankly, which is totally fine. I mean, I guess I would ask which Uncharted games and which Tomb Raider games you played. If you've played all of them and you just honestly prefer Indiana Jones to those, I mean, that's cool. Indiana Jones is solid. But I also have a lot of nostalgia for like old school Uncharted too. So I'm a little biased. I'll be real. Okay. Do you think the graphics cards are worth it for a new build? Not a 50 series, no. I mean, I do not know what the argument is for buying a 50 series other than multi-frame generation. But the thing with multi-frame generation is you basically need VRR to make it worthwhile. So you got to upgrade your monitor and like, there's just a lot of things people don't anticipate. But frankly, like the multi-frame gen, I wouldn't consider that to be a selling point to buy an $800 graphics card. Instead, I would shop around for a 40 series that's actually in stock and do it that way. I think you'll be much happier. Let's see. Just watch your Valhalla video. I think you're starting to like it a little. It's so Valhalla, I think it's why I called it a junk food game. Okay. Like junk food, think of like movie theater popcorn or a bag of Skittles, like a big bag of Skittles, or like one of those big jugs from Sam's Club of Starburst jelly beans. It's really good when you pop 5 of them in and you're happy. But once you get like, you know, a couple handfuls into the popcorn bucket, you start to be like, okay, like I'm feeling nothing, but it's tasty, you know, but it's not giving me anything. And if you keep going, if you stop there, you can have like, it's solid. It's good. But if you keep going, you're going to feel sick and it will actively harm you. And with Valhalla, what I've always said is like, if you play it for 25 hours, 30 hours, whatever, once you start to feel like you're just bashing your head against the wall of repetition, doing the same thing over and over again, stop. Valhalla is a game I really, truly believe is way better if you are willing to quit a quarter of the way through. And you can have like a 25, 30 hour experience, which is solid. You know, that's a good amount of time for a AAA game even. And I think you won't burn out. The problem with AC Valhalla is that it's probably like 3 to 4 times too long, in my opinion. And so you burn out hard. There's just too much stuff everywhere. And so I think Valhalla in small doses is like, you know, a few pieces of popcorn. It's like, oh, But I think after 80 hours, you're going to want to be the victim of one of those Viking raids. It's just miserable. It gets to be too much. So Valhalla in little doses, I think is good. At least certain aspects of it are good. And I remember, you know, I was pleasantly surprised to hop back in, and then we were filming the video, and randomly, like, I come across some people standing on a cliffside, some bandits, and one of them makes a comment to another NPC, and it's like, "Did you see that rock when I pushed it off? Did you see what it did?" And they're like laughing and chuckling about it. You kill the bandits, you go down, and you see where they pushed the rock. It's a big boulder. It fell down on top of a dude. He's dead on the ground, and he has a note for his beloved, and he's promising to like make everything up to her, and he's going to get their relationship back on track. And in his inventory is like a little ring, and you can go find his beloved, and there's like some dialogue that plays if you do. But like, that's just a cool dynamic thing to find in the world, and it is marked on the map as a mystery. But those are things I like in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. My problem is that they replaced traditional side quests. They also went and like filled the entire map with tons of little trinkets and collectathon stuff. And it's so easy to burn out on it. So it was refreshing. It was good to kind of get a fresh look at Valhalla, because it's been years since I played it. The last time I had booted it up was like October of 22, I believe is what it was. So it had been like 2.5 years since I booted up AC Valhalla. And so to go back to it was like, oh, yeah, I remember this, but this is okay. Yeah, it's a little fresh. It helps to see it with fresh eyes, but I still insist that after 20, 30 hours, you're going to be burnt out like crazy. Are you excited for Shadows? I mean, I can't really talk about it because I'm reviewing it. So I have the game. I've been playing the game, but I can't say anything about it. Yeah, we're going to talk about Death Stranding 2. Yeah, you better believe it. Thoughts on Activision saying they're going to discontinue Warzone if the launch of Verdansk doesn't do good at retaining players? Did they say they're going to discontinue it? When I try to Google discontinue Warzone, the first thing is you type in discontinue and it says Girl Scout cookies. I love Girl Scout cookies. They say it was mentioned that if Verdansk isn't a success, players aren't retained, then Warzone will be shut down before Call of Duty 2026 arrives. This comes as Warzone struggles under the weight of network issues, a plague of cheaters, lackluster updates that haven't given the community a sense of hope for the future, and the iconic battle royale. I mean, they still have a ton of players, but it's definitely fallen off a lot. But I mean, compared to the peaks, I mean, the peaks were insane. Back in the day, like when Warzone first dropped, like lockdown era, oh, it was massive. It was massive. Presently, Warzone isn't being discontinued, but there's a very real possibility that it will be within the next year or so. If the leaks are to be believed, Verdansk will be the last shot the developers have at making Call of Duty Warzone an ongoing success. I don't know, man. I loved Warzone back in the day, but the problem was for me and for my friends is that it got really sweaty. It got flooded with cheaters, for one. They would regularly break it with guns that were super OP, and they just so happened to be selling the blueprints for those guns in the store. So I maybe it's a conspiracy theory or what. I'm a firm believer, okay? Tinfoil hat. I'm a firm believer that they know damn well what they're doing. They are intentionally breaking the game regularly to sell you the solution. And so they update it with a gun that's just totally busted. And then they sell you that gun. So if you want to be competitive, you have to spend $15-20 on it. And they just do that regularly. And I'm just burned out, man. Like, I think it was after DMR Zone where I really started to just be like, what are we doing, guys? And I played for another handful of months, but it got to the point where if you were not bunny hopping constantly, if you weren't doing this, I just couldn't do it. And then once they did, was it whatever the World War II inspired one, once they did the Godzilla, like whatever crossover, I was like, okay, I think we've lost the plot. I think we're getting silly. Okay. Cause it was just, it sucked the fun out of it for me. Vanguard. I almost called it Veilguard. That game scarred me, apparently. Maybe Luke should just get good. If I did, I'm sure I'd have more fun, frankly. And I used to go on tears in Warzone. I mean, I was a snipey boy. I would go crazy on the snipes. But man, it stopped being fun. And I that could be just because, you know, the game had been out for a while. And so it wasn't novel. It wasn't fresh anymore. Because that's going to happen with any live service game. You're going to play it for an hour or two, or for like months or a year or two. And then you're just going to kind of drift away. That happens with every live service game, you know, and there's some exceptions that have, of course, stood the test of time and have gotten bigger as time has gone on. Like, you know, Rainbow Six is bigger than it ever has been. CSGO, League. I mean, these games are huge despite being years and years old. But I think most live service games, they typically whoop, and then they kind of start to trail off. So seeing them bring back Verdansk is intriguing. But if the core problem is cheaters, poor optimization, server issues, and breaking the game intentionally to milk you for more money, like, I don't think Verdansk magically fixes that. I'll pop back in. I'm sure I'm going to try it again. It's going to feel nostalgic and like, ooh, this is kind of fun. But I mean, after that, I don't think I'm going to go back, and my whole friend group and stuff is going to abandon everything else to go play it, you know? Siege is life. Yeah, dude. People don't realize how huge Siege is. But it's like I've said before, Ubisoft is a company with 20,000 employees. And based on that whole, you know, scale, they are kept afloat basically entirely by Rainbow Six and Assassin's Creed. Like, occasionally they'll have a Far Cry that pops out, might make a little bit of money, but they basically have all of that. Yeah. I'm so baked. That room is a trip. Dude, do you see the head up there? It's always watching. Grandma's watching too, right there. They're always watching. Oh, and Skull and Bones. You're right. They are being kept afloat by Skull and Bones. I forgot about that. Oh, man. I hope you cover the new Rainbow Six once they reveal it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good in theory that they're gonna like overhaul it, but I'm always mortified whenever there's a big overhaul to a game that it's just gonna break a ton of stuff and it's not going to be a net positive. So, time will see. You know, time will tell. Yeah. Death Stranding trailer. I have not watched it. I've seen like little snippets, but I intentionally did not watch this trailer because I wanted to watch it with you guys for the first time. So I've seen screenshots, people being like, ooh, it's so cinematic. I have not watched this at all. So I don't know what it is. So I'm excited to go through it with you. It's going to be good. We also have an update on the Xbox stuff. The alleged next gen Xbox, because this is a follow-up to another story we talked about last week where it was speculated that they are expecting the next generation of Xbox to launch next year. And there's not just an update on timeline, but also Jez Corden is kind of reporting and talking about what it's expected to be because it's different than you might think. So this whole Xbox era is going to be crazy. Death Stranding 2 has entered the GOTY conversation along with Split Fiction, Monster Hunter Wilds, Kingdom Come 2. It's a stacked year. Yeah, dude. And Christopher, people are forgetting the Switch 2 launches this year. Nintendo almost always has a Game of the Year contender, at least one, when they launch a new console. With the Switch, of course, they had Breath of the Wild. So what do they have this time around? Like, we don't really know. We know there's a new Mario Kart, but that's about it. So there's a strong chance that there's, like, if there's 5 slots for Game of the Year nominations, there could be 7 very solid contenders by the time the year is out, which is crazy. But that's just where we are. 2025 is turning out to be just the year of insanity. So we'll see. We'll see. There's another one, Luke, but it's about the handheld. Oh, is it also Insider Gaming, or is it a different one, a different outlet? Because the handheld has been speculated about a lot, and it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do with that. It's also Insider Gaming. Is it a new article? I just pulled up their stuff. I didn't see it. But either way, we'll get to that. We'll get to all of that. Tagged you on X. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's the easiest way for you guys to like send me something while we're on stream, is to just tag me on X. And also, I can't even tell you how many people tag me in this post. These Gunner Optics, they have this ad with this model that looks uncomfortably similar to me. And they've run this ad for like a year and a half, 2 years. And people tag me in it every few weeks because they get it in their timeline and like, is that you? It's not me. It's not me, but it is funny. People tag me in it all the time. So just to be clear, it's not me. It's not me. But thank you, Tyler, for tagging me in it. I always get a chuckle whenever I see it come across my timeline. I'm like, oh, that's funny. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? I'm looking for it. Can you tag me in it again? I'm not seeing it in my immediate notifications because I got kind of flooded. Somebody posted our AC Valhalla video, and so a bunch of Assassin's Creed like fanboys said that I was a franchise hater, which is funny because I also get called a Ubisoft fanboy, so I guess you can't make anybody happy. Thank you, Nudes JP, for the sub with Prime. Thank you. Appreciate you. Let's see. Sumaya, Luke's tip on enjoying AC Valhalla. Just stop playing it. Valhalla's dots on map could make a casino blush. Yeah, that and the skill bush. I'm not joking. I talked to somebody at the AC Shadows preview event. So somebody that works at Ubisoft, a pretty high level designer, like gameplay person. And granted, this is in Quebec, so this is not Montreal. Montreal is the team that made Valhalla. Quebec is way to the north in Canada, and it's a separate team. And they did Odyssey and are doing Shadows. And one of the gameplay designers working on Shadows actually referenced, when I was talking to him, how the skills worked in Shadows for the preview event. He actually referenced what I said in my critique, which was the skill bush, which was very funny. So I was like, oh, so you guys actually, like, you probably did watch the 3-hour critique. I did. And they're actually using the same terminology, which is kind of funny. So, let's see. Montreal is in the Quebec province. Quebec City. the Quebec studio. So they have the Montreal studio, and then they have the Quebec studio. The Quebec studio is way to the north within the Quebec province. But yeah, you're right. Let's see. Stunsy, thank you for that. Thank you for that membership. Welcome, welcome. Have you heard any news about Ace Combat 8? I have not. I'm sorry, I do not have anything on that. Lonely Fades, thank you for that super chat. We could be seeing an Iron Man game demo at GDC. I saw that too, that they were talking that could happen. I'm intrigued, but Iron Man as a game, I don't know. They've never really nailed it. And I think it's tough because whenever you have a character that like has all that movement and flexibility, it either has to be something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, where everything is in a pretty tight map and there's some narrative reason why you can't leave it, or you have to just own it and let like the player fly anywhere, give them access to the entire city, and it's like the Spider-Man game and you just go crazy. And I don't know what they're doing, but we'll see. I mean, Anthem in terms of like the design of, what are they, javelins, that's what they called them. Those actually were pretty solid, like Iron Man suits. They did a pretty good job with that. How'd you feel about a DC Flash game? I don't even know how that would look or how that would work. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see. Do you have any advice for someone like me who's been playing games for nearly 40 years and watching films, went to film school, and want to start a YouTube channel and turn it into a full-time job? I mean, the first and main point is, if you want to be a content creator, you have to create content. So if you want to make YouTube videos, make the damn videos. Like, I can't even tell you how often I get people reaching out and they're like, hey, I want to do YouTube. I want to stream. I want to do this or that. And I'll click on their channel that they link, and they've posted like 1 video or 2 videos in the last 6 months. And it's like, if you want to do it, you got to do it. You know, you got to grind it. There's no shortcuts. Some people on like TikTok get super lucky, but you typically, when you spike up in popularity real quick, get a bunch of followers, it falls off really, really quickly. So hone your craft, and remember, above all else,
do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it! Some people dream of success while you're gonna wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not gonna stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can!
people meme on this. People meme on this. But I remember listening to this video at times when I was working in a miserable job, and I'd be like, I don't want to go make a video. I just want to like veg out or like party and drink, go out to the bars or something. And I was like, no. My dream is to do this for a living. My dream is to be a YouTuber and stuff. I'm going to do it. I'm going to work. I'm going to do it. Look where we are. But it's because you got to do it. You got to do it. That's most definitely what's up. You're damn right.
That's most definitely what's up.
So remember, just do it. Like, if it were easy, everyone would do it. But you're going to be the guy that actually did it. Just saying. Okay. Okay, we're good there. Loxy, thank you for the 6 months, my friend. Good to have you over on Twitch. Thank you. Okay. Luke's OnlyFans is the best. Yeah, I mean, well, I wanted to find a way to add value to people who are members. So, you know, in case you guys weren't aware, if you're a member of the channel, you actually get access to my OnlyFans as well. It's pretty graphic, but it's tasteful too, which is important. Like, I want it to be artsy. Like, I want you to look at it and of course be overwhelmed with lust, but also to think, huh, that's key. I think that's really key. You got to be able to strike that balance, Yeah. Banned. Okay, you ready? I'm joking. I don't have an OnlyFans. I feel like nowadays I have to clarify and like make it clear when something's not serious. Otherwise, I will have people coming to me and being like, well, Luke said that he has an OnlyFans. Like, Jesus Christ. Real quick, I've got to swap out the batteries on this because it's beeping at me. Yeah, we're going to look at this Death Stranding trailer. Have you guys seen it? What did you guys think? I want to know. Put it in the chat because I am going to make a couple predictions as someone who has not watched it yet, okay? And we'll find out if I'm right or not. My guess is it's going to be largely narratively nonsensical, but it's going to have all sorts of like famous people in it. It's going to have weird cameos that don't make a lot of sense, but they're there anyways. It's going to have I think they'll show maybe more weather stuff, because that was something they alluded to with like the rock mudslide thing in the first trailer. So I think we could see that. And it probably will play like a trailer for a movie more than a trailer for a game. That's my expectation. We'll see. Okay. These aren't exactly novel predictions, to be clear. If you've seen any Kojima trailer ever, especially since he went solo, or at least, I don't know, it's a company. Since he went independent, let's say, he's definitely gone a little wacky. Okay, so news segment. The time has come, my friends, for us to watch the trailer, the pre-order trailer for Death Stranding 2. If you guys are OGs, we're talking 2018 era, okay? You'll know what I think of Death Stranding, but Spark Notes, I like Death Stranding as a rainy day game. It's something I boot up and I play when I'm just feeling like vegging out. You know, I do live in Colorado. I have kids though, so it's a rare occurrence when you pop an edible or something if they're staying over at grandma's house or something, you know, for the day. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just veg out. That's when you can just check out and deliver some packages, you know? In terms of the story, I find it laughably bad. Like, the dialogue is ridiculous. Like, Kojima has characters in this named Die Hard Man. Like, I don't play Death Stranding for the writing. I play it for how insane it is. The fact that it's basically an acid trip that you're able to buy in a store over the counter. And I also find it kind of relaxing. And I like the music choice. And of course, graphically, they're really impressive. But I do not agree with people who are like, the game's super boring and bland and it has no gameplay. It does. I understand it's not for everybody, but I do like the gameplay. I do like navigating difficult terrain and stuff with different tools. So I like Death Stranding. I just think he needs an editor to trim down some of the dialogue. But that being said, Death Stranding 2, it's been on the radar. He just was at South by Southwest, and I believe it was South by Southwest, right? I believe that's the conference it was. But anyway, he was at a conference. He dropped this trailer as part of it, and this is announcing the release date, pre-orders, all of that stuff. And so we're going to check it out. You ready? Let's do it. PlayStation.
You, sir, are an unrepentant criminal, guilty of illegally entering our country on multiple occasions.
The only thing that I'm guilty of is doing your dirty work.
And by way of compensation, we have overlooked your crimes.
Bring it on, because I'm not doing this shit anymore.
What makes you think you have a choice?
What kind of cargo?
Cargo like brain dead, pregnant women.
No one would possibly allow that.
That's why I have to smuggle them in. They make me bring them over from Mexico.
This thing between us. It was a mistake.
No. No, it was not a mistake. It was not a mistake.
Can we just acknowledge that will never not be insane? Okay, we're used to it now because we've seen the first game. It's still crazy, okay? A baby hanging out in a stomach with black eyeline. It's crazy, okay? But that's why we like Kojima, because he's like an alien, you know? He's just outside of his mind. I will say, graphically, the facial animations and face, like motion capture on the faces is wildly impressive. Way better than, I think, the first game, which was no slacker to begin with. And also way better than I think even like Forbidden West, which of course was also Decima Engine. So they've definitely done some work. Also, I find this outfit that BB is wearing absolutely adorable. This is awesome. But not in a capsule now. Real quick, I thought of it. How does this work if you face plant? You know, when you're going down a steep hill in the first game, if you're not holding on to your backpack, you sometimes face plant. Now you have a baby not enclosed. Like maybe it has like a cute little airbag. Maybe that's what they're gonna show. Oh. 11 months after the birth of the UCA.
That stillness entertains and slays. Now if my love for you won't make you stay, I don't know what will. You will never leave a trace where you walk. If the only path you take's the one you're told, so
Okay, that's cool. Avalanches too. Oh, he's from Marvel, Doctor Strange, right?
I couldn't protect you.
It's from that other trailer.
I tried to jump us out of there. But I could only take my equipment with me.
The little wings.
And I couldn't possibly think of Lou like that. There was no way for the two of us to escape together. The best I could hope for was to jump Lou out. Just Lou.
Must be more than animals in chains. It's a poison that kills. Would you let the wind tell you where to go? If you can brave fate and prove it wrong, so walk away, I'll find you so far away.
She's in it too.
I've been alone this whole time.
You're wrong. Death can tear us apart. We'll always be connected. We will always be with you, no matter what. You will never, ever be alone.
This time, I'll make a lasting connection with the lady in red. The perfect ending humanity deserves.
For the sake of the future, we must all come together. As a barrier to the bad, and a gateway to the good. All hands,
Little hands.
brace for launch.
That was adorable. What is happening? There's your problem.
A world divided.
Put Snake in the game. Let's do it.
With a few sticks for encouragement.
The UCA's precursor, the United States of America, had a prominent gun culture. A distinctly American philosophy, and one which would appear to have spread to this continent. The more we seek to unite the people with metaphorical ropes, the more essential sticks seem to become.
DHB Magellan. Integrate. Everyone, hold on tight.
Dude, what even just happened? Okay. First thing, I just have to put it out there because otherwise I'm going to forget. This part, you know, where he puts the thing on his head and he does the grunt. So he's inside like the VR headset or whatever, and he puts it on top of the whatever, simulacra or whatever it is. It reminded me of, let me see if I can find the clip. I need to find it. It's the part where Randy dies. This.
They did it!
That's all I could think of when he did this. So anyway, sorry to point that out. Now you're always going to think of that whenever you see this. Beyond that, there's kind of two phases to this trailer, which I appreciate. For one, it's like they go through some obvious like gameplay pointed stuff, and then they have like the epilogue to the trailer with that. It's I of course love the vibe because the whole thing is just one massive acid trip. But little snippets like this showing environmental stuff, so like forest fires, the flooding, which is something they showed in the last trailer. They show like the avalanche here in a second, dust storms and things. This is, you know, I don't know if it's just this gen with like the power upgrades, but Monster Hunter did this, AC Shadows is doing this, and now Death Stranding is doing it, where they're like, fidelity is already really high. We could go bigger with the map, but I don't know if players even really want that. You know, more travel time between locations. I think they want more dynamics. So they're going with this where they add in like weather systems, where they add in more dynamic things to shake it up, which I'm all for. I mean, I like dynamics. And in the context of a game like Death Stranding, I think it makes a lot of sense, because if you wanted to do something like, for example, you build a road, but then the dust storm comes in and requires repairs. So that way you don't just set it and forget it, which is something that happens with the other games as well. Something on the floor. It's driving me bonkers. Oh, it's the little... I resized one of my watches, and they have these little like collar pieces for the pins when you slide it into the watch, and so you have to keep the collars, but one of them fell and I couldn't find it. I just found it with my foot. Anyway, sorry. Continuing on, I think that this makes sense. I like the idea of the dynamic weather stuff. In terms of the story, I'm not even gonna begin to try and guess what it is. Obviously they have some stuff like these massive fights. They do show a lot of clips of like gunplay and these like racing sequences. It's like bigger boss fights. They show this stuff. So they've obviously overhauled how the vehicles work. It just seems to take everything the first game did and try to ramp it up, which I think is how you do a sequel to a game like Death Stranding. Because it is what it is. I don't think you're gonna necessarily reinvent the wheel. I think you just have to like double down on everything and just make every piece that sure was polarizing, but that some people loved at the same time, and just expand it and build it out. Now, I do want to ask you guys, this is also interesting, that right there. So of course they have the tram. So I'm wondering if like, do you get to build the train and deliver cargo like that? Is this the replacement for the highways in the first game? Is that what they're doing? I'm not sure. But that could be a cool way of automating some of the deliveries, as they allude to at the beginning of the trailer. But one of the other things, like they show you riding on it as well. But they also show this where you have like a vehicle customized much more with like what appear to be rockets. That's weird and interesting, but that could be really kind of cool to see. But here's my question. And this was something that was brought up by Joe Raptor on our podcast, and I just hadn't really thought of it before, but I do think it's an interesting question. Do you think that Death Stranding 2 outperforms the first game? In other words, do you think that this game, based on what you're seeing, wins over people who didn't like the first game, or wins over a new audience who maybe decided not to try the first game for one reason or another? They just like weren't super compelled. Because Jor was saying he expects this to perform a good bit worse than the first game, which I thought was interesting, because obviously it's a sequel, and I think there's kind of two ways of looking at it. If you're just viewing it purely on a numbers basis, you're like, hey, the first game had hype levels up here. The second game, everybody's heard of it by now. A lot of the players who played this did love it. I mean, even if we say it's like all the way up here, all these people liked it, but there were some people who played Death Stranding at launch and just didn't love it. And those people probably fall off. So does that mean that this game, you know, starts here and then maybe elevates and gets up to like this level, still beneath the initial highs of the first game, but not bad? I'm honestly not sure. I do think, because they said that this is PS5 exclusive too, right? I think so. Can somebody back me up on that? I don't think this is cross-gen. But in 2025, I can't assume anything. Because, you know, that's just the time we live in. But I'm pretty sure it's exclusive to PS5. So it's dealing with fewer consoles to install. It will come to PC, I'm guessing, much faster than the first game did. So I think that will certainly help. Not day and date, I don't think, but you know, even if it's 6 months of exclusivity, I think PC copies help it. But I am interested to see whether this like attracts a new audience, because after we talked about that on the podcast with Jor, I talked to a buddy of mine who was living in the same college house as me when the first game came out, because we lived in a house all together because I was finishing college, and you know, we were wrapping up our degrees and everything right when Death Stranding was coming out, leading into 2019. And so I was talking to a buddy of mine who played Death Stranding at launch, and he's the completionist guy I tell you guys about all the time. He's the one that like grinded out something like I think it was something stupid. It was like 70 levels or something in Elden Ring before even like fighting Tree Sentinel. He like skipped Tree Sentinel, went and grinded the boulder that runs down in like Kalid, and gained a crap ton of levels. And then he was like, yeah, now all the bosses I can like 3-shot them. I was like, yeah, you're not really supposed to grind levels for 12 hours straight or whatever it was he did. But he's just one of those players who like will no life and like 100% complete something, even if he's doing it in an indirect way. But I asked him what he thought about Death Stranding because he's such a funny guy. He's also the same one who told me, and then I'll get to what he was saying. He's the same guy that told me, I think it was back in the day with, what game? I don't remember what game it was, but we were playing an RPG and he's designing his character and he had this female character. And I just asked him off the cuff, oh, why do you play as the female character instead of selecting like a male for you to roleplay with? And he just turned to me and very plainly said, if I'm going to stare at someone's ass for 80 hours of gameplay, I'd rather it be a girl's ass. I was like, touche, you got me there. Okay. Can't argue with that. I mean, you got me. So he's a very funny guy, but I asked him like what he thought of Death Stranding 2 and everything. And he was somebody kind of reflecting the opinion that Jor was stating, where he was like, yeah, I played the first game. It just like got really dry and boring by the end. He's like, I don't know if I want to jump into another 100 hours of that. And I was like, honestly, fair. I mean, maybe some people are like more people than I think are out there are also thinking that way. Because I look at this and I'm like, even though I didn't like parts of the first game, I look at this and I'm like, it seems like they're doubling down on a lot of the stuff that I did like. They're expanding gameplay systems. They're, at least in the clips we're seeing, the cutscenes are much sharper. They're much faster paced. It at least seems right now, this could change, but it seems right now that there's a lot less rambling for 20, 30 minutes at a time, which I think is great. So I like a lot of what I'm seeing, and this gets me excited to jump in and try it because I'm like, ooh, they're like building on what they did before. And so maybe they trimmed out like some of the stuff I didn't like and they're adding a lot of stuff I did like, or doubling down and expanding it. But I could also, I don't know if I could blame somebody if they're like, yeah, I thought the first game was confusing and boring after a while, so I'm good, you know? But OMG, it's Elijah says, I think it'd be hard for Death Stranding 2 to beat the 5 million the first sold. Well, and that's also one interesting thing is that apparently like there was a good amount of like a lot of marketing dollars riding on the first game, exclusivity deals and everything, of course, with PlayStation. And they shared technology with Kojima, with the Decima engine, which was their own proprietary engine that was built by Guerrilla. So, you know, they put a lot of money into the first game, and allegedly it didn't do as well as they were hoping. I mean, I believe Days Gone at this point has outsold it by a pretty decent margin, to be fair. Days Gone has been on, I think, deeper sales typically than Death Stranding has been, but it is just insane. But we also don't know what the budget was like on the actual internal development side of things. But anyway, I find it crazy and wacky and wild. I would guess it's received similarly to the first game because I think the same types of people will play it. So like, what was the first? I don't remember, but the first game's Metacritic, I'm going to guess before I hit enter, was like, I don't remember what it was. I'm going to guess 87. Let's see. Oh, lower than I thought. It's 82. I thought it was higher than that. But I think that this reflects something that I think something that's going to apply to this game too, which is some people, or a lot of people, are going to love it and call it game of the year, masterpiece, all of that. But a lot of other people are going to be like, I have no idea what was happening. It's really confusing. It doesn't make any sense. It seems to intentionally want to give me a headache. And that's, I think that all of those perspectives are right. It depends on what you like. Like I like the relaxing gameplay. I like just kind of hiking through, delivering packages. But I don't blame people if they don't like that. If they're like, no, I want more action. I think they're adding a lot more action. They seem to show a lot more gameplay with like the gigantic whatever tar like monsters and sort of the Pacific Rim looking fights they're going to do. They show a lot more like gunplay. So I think they're going to have a lot more action to probably smooth that over and appeal to some of those people. But time will tell, The tough thing though is even if they add that stuff, can they convince people that what they've added is engaging and satisfying to that extent, Because if people don't believe it or are like, yeah, I see that they've added more gunplay and they've added some bigger boss fights and stuff, that's great. But I just don't think I can do another 80 hours or 60 hours or whatever. At that point, it's tough to get there. Jack, thank you for the 5. Kojima after his third tab of acid. F it. Add Solid Snake. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing where it's, at this point, he's kind of like daring people. He's like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, I added basically Solid Snake to the game. What are you going to do about it? Suck it up, loser. But he's Kojima. He can do it. In no shock at all. Hold on, where is it? Geoff Keighley. Of course, he posted a picture right as the trailer dropped, celebrating the new Death Stranding 2 trailer and release date announcement tonight in Austin with my friend, Hideo Kojima. They're so funny together. I'm still not convinced that Kojima knows who Jeff is. They always have kind of funny interactions. Yeah, I think it's the language barrier, frankly. But it is always funny how Jeff's like, come here, hug, I love you. And Kojima's just kind of there, But anyway, they're very funny. They're very funny together. That being said, I think a lot of this looks solid. I like a lot of what I'm seeing. I do think it's going to be very similar to the first game in structure and style. I think it's probably going to have more option for violent solutions with gunplay and stuff like that. But I do think fundamentally it's going to still be a game about delivering stuff. And it's still going to have the strand system and all of those things. And almost certainly it will have Kojima writing throughout, which is that he just loves to write. And he will write 15-page monologues for the actors to do. And then, it could have been a memo. He could have gotten it out in a paragraph, but instead it's 15 pages. And that's just something you have to kind of put up with. I tend to like the gameplay enough that I'm not really bothered by it, and I'm okay with that. I can work with it, but I also don't blame people if they're like, I'm good. The writing's pretentious. I think the writing is self-indulgent. That old Family Guy clip where Peter's like, I don't like The Godfather because it insists upon itself. I kind of feel that with Kojima writing, unironically, because I do feel like a lot of it is just like, okay, like we get it. This is profound and this is artsy and weird. But one of my old teachers in college, he taught a playwriting class, and he said something that stuck with me for a long time. He said, novice writers write a lot. Expert writers write enough. And I think that's a very important thing to remember with this type of game, is that you can communicate pages of dialogue and thought processes with just a look or a smirk. Think of how many video essays were made on the end of The Last of Us when Ellie looks at Joel after he says, "I swear," and she just says, "Okay." And then the credits roll. He says, "I swear," and "okay." 3 words, and you could write whole essays on what the implications of that are, what she's probably actually thinking when she says okay, what it means that she said okay instead of continuing to confront him, the fact that she's accepting his answer even though she doesn't believe it, and all of these things, because you can communicate, I think, much more effectively emotional things by tying in these other aspects of communication, which is body language, which is intonation, which is not just what is said, but also what's left unsaid. And I think when you write just paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs, you are communicating a lot, but I think it's not effective. And I think a lot of people start to mentally check out. You know, I remember being frustrated with the end of Death Stranding because they have that bit on the beach. No spoilers, it's too specific, but basically you're on a beach and it's a very purgatory-esque thing where a character is just kind of talking and monologuing and doing lots of exposition in the process. But what inevitably happens is that you kind of mentally check out and you don't even know what was said because you just kind of like zone out because it's just boring. And because it's literally just somebody talking at you. And somebody in the comments of that critique was telling me, no, it's actually really impressive because they are trying to make you feel like you're in purgatory too. So it's meant to be this meta thing where you feel like you're captured in this purgatory state, just like Sam is. And that's why it's actually good. And I'm sorry, if I'm playing a video game and I start to feel like I'm in actual purgatory, I think I'm still allowed to dislike that, you know? Like, I understand you meant to do that. It doesn't mean that I have to like it, you know? It just doesn't. Like, if I go out to a restaurant and I order a burrito and I eat it and it gives me horrifying stomach problems, where I go to the hospital, they put me on an IV because everything's flushing out of my body. And then I go back and I confront the chef and he's like, no, that burrito is meant to do that. It's meant to turn you inside out. We meant to do that. I feel like I'm still allowed to be upset and to not, even though you meant to do that, it doesn't mean I have to like it. Okay. A rough analogy, I grant you, but hopefully it serves the point. So, I'm somebody that thinks Death Stranding is kind of a complex tapestry. I like big parts of it and I enjoy big parts of it. And I still go back to it fairly regularly just to kind of relax and chill. But I think there's huge areas where it's like, this could really improve. And I hope with the sequel it does. The problem is that, there is literally nobody to check Kojima at this point. I think he's at his best when he has like some creative equals or editors and stuff who can kind of reel him back in, occasions where he's just like going crazy and writing pages and pages. And it's like, okay, let's cut that, tighten it up, do it this way. Boom. Brilliant. I think that's when he's at his best. But since he's made his own company, he's been able to just do literally whatever he wants. And I think sometimes he gets in his own way. It's my stance. But I don't know. I think Death Stranding 2 looks crazy, and I'm excited to try it. It comes out late June, I believe June 26th. So it's coming actually quite soon. And I think this is not the only game we're going to hear releasing earlier than we expected it to. I think this year we're going to be getting a good number of games that are kind of pumping out in that August, September area, because a lot of companies just don't want to be anywhere close to GTA 6, which is probably coming late October would be my guess. I think there's a strong chance that GTA 6 comes October 28th. So we'll see. Yeah. What would then distinguish Kojima game from others? His insane ideas. I think Kojima is an idea man. I don't think he's a dialogue man. And that's my primary frustration, is just, I think if you let Kojima do everything, but you have somebody else write the dialogue, and he communicates the ideas that should be spoken in the dialogue, but somebody else writes the dialogue, I think it works way better. Kojima wrote Lost. Kojima... That's actually... Yeah, I think he'd be... It's like Kojima wrote the last 3 seasons of Lost, where it's just like, what? What? Yeah, he's the George Lucas of games. I think that's actually a good point, Gilmar Eric Smith. I think you're actually onto something there, because he's really good at the big picture stuff. But the second you ask, George Lucas to write dialogue, he's totally a lost cause, because he doesn't know how humans speak, And I think that's Kojima, is great idea man. When it gets into the nitty gritty, it gets real confusing. Cause it's like, bro, nobody talks like this. We got intergalactic news. Oh, really? Oh, really? From where? From where? Take-Two's marketing windows are much smaller now. Well, I mean, I think it's just with GTA 6 especially, I just don't think you need to market that for 2 years. Everybody knows about the game. Everybody's going to buy it. The only reason you market it is to try and appeal to the more casual gamer who's not in tune with gaming more directly. So I think you'll see a huge push for like NFL ads. You'll see ads playing on TV all the time. There'll be banners in airports and stuff to get the more casual gamer on. But beyond that, I don't think you see... I just don't think you'll see like a big 12-month marketing push, because you just don't need to. Let's talk about this. Yeah. Thank you for that, Lonely Fades. Thank you. Shout out Lonely Fades for sending me the link to this. Real quick, let me catch up on these. Thank you everybody for these. These are very generous. Sad Boy, thank you for the 2. Would you rather a sleepover with Cobes or Chan? I would weirdly feel safer with Cobes. Is that fair? I think I'd feel safer sleeping in the same building as Cobes. With Chris Chan, I think all bets are off. Neardridge, thank you for the membership as well. Thank you. Glad to have you. Sumaya says, the trailer made me go, that looks like a cool movie. What's the game about? It's kind of how the first game's trailers were too. I think it's going to be about delivering packages. I think that's really what it's going to be at the end of the day. David, thank you for gifting a membership to the community. That's very generous. Thank you. Jack, thank you for the 5. Kojima, after his 3rd type of acid. Oh yeah, F it, add Solid Snake. Neardridge, thank you for the 7 months. We need to tease the elephant in the room. I know you have a review copy for a certain game you're playing. Blink twice if we are back. Oh, thank you for the show off. I just realized you're at the show off tier too. Yeah, I am reviewing AC Shadows. I am not able to, of course, talk about it, but yeah, I think as I've said for months, I am very excited for the 18th when like the embargo lifts and when like people are allowed to talk about it. Because I just think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see who likes what, who dislikes what. I'm always excited when there's a game that seems to be polarizing, because there's a lot of varied perspectives, and I love hearing people's reasons for feeling the way they do, Are you also reviewing Expedition 33? No, I do not have a code for Expedition 33. I don't know if we will get one. I'm not sure, but yeah, I haven't really sunk my teeth into that yet. Apparently Kojima edited that trailer himself. Yeah, he edits all of their trailers. If you follow him on social media, he sends out pictures and stuff of him while he's editing them. Yeah. Using your finance degree, is it insider trading if you buy or sell stock based on your review copy? Probably, which is why I don't hold any like gaming stocks or anything. Any stocks for companies I'm in relationships with, like Take-Two. I don't think Take-Two is even in the S&P 500. So is Take-Two in the S&P 500? Is it? Oh, it's on the NASDAQ. So I don't, yeah, dude, the market today is just being woof, man. Part of it, I mean, yeah, well, that's a whole other issue. Anyway, but yeah, to answer your question, it probably is considered insider trading, which is why I don't like buy shares or stocks of companies that I'm interacting with. You know, I think that would be at the very least inappropriate, because like imagine you're like, ooh, I got a review code for GTA 6 and I actually see that the game is horrible and it's super broken or something, and so I go and then short Take-Two stock like crazy because I was given like insider access and information. That I cannot imagine a world in which that's okay. So we just don't do that. Yeah. The future's terrifying. To put it very simply, I think what is being attempted right now is the individuals that have direct influence over the economy are okay with the stock market taking a beating, because that very likely means that the Fed will cut rates up more aggressively. And by cutting rates, that then jumpstarts a lot of economic activity and other things like home buying and real estate transactions, stuff like that. So I think basically what's happening right now is kind of like when you, like, what is that called? I think it's a derma roller. I watched a whole TikTok about it, but it's like a roller with little bitty needles on it, and they roll it over your face or skin to create little punctures to elicit like a response from your skin to repair the skin. And so it makes it look fuller by healing it, because you basically damaged it intentionally. And I think that's basically what's happening now, is that the stock market's getting, you know, taking a beating, but it's to try and get something out of it, you know.
Chat. Why are the stocks down today, Luke? ! What could it be?
I believe the exact statement was, I won't rule out a recession. And when when the president says, I'm not going to rule out like a recession happening, like, you know, short-term pain for long-term gain, shocker, investors don't like that. Investors are like, sorry, what? I don't think you're supposed to say that. You know, so that's basically why the stock market is taking a nosedive right now. But it also, I mean, the last like 2 weeks have been really rough because the tariffs and trade wars are just picking up steam. So unfortunately for investors, it's nothing new right now. For the last few weeks, it's been like this. But yeah, if you've got cash, now's a great time to buy some stocks. I'll tell you what, they are on a steep discount. They're on hardcore clearance right now. So yeah, if you got cash, now's the time to buy. I'll tell you what. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Shifting forward, Death Stranding is basically Evangelion. I don't know that anime. I've heard of it, but I've never watched it, so I'm not sure if that's accurate. But thank you, Carl, for the 2. And then John, thank you for the 5. Hey, Luke, would like to hear your opinion on this link I've pasted below. I have mixed feelings on this, but what are your thoughts? I don't think it will let you post links in the chat. YouTube will not like that. And naturally, I'm hesitant to click on links that are shared while we're live, for obvious reasons. But if you want to tag it or tag me in it on X, then we can pull that up and look at it. That's probably the easiest way, because YouTube chat's just going to try to ban you if you try to post links in chat. Inevitably, you know, we've had a good run of it recently, but there was one period where, like, I think it was like 2 months ago, where there were like 3 or 4 people that came into chat within a few days. It might have been the same person, but they just came in and they would flood the chat with links to their like SoundCloud page. And they were like, please listen to my song.
Neardrage donated 20 Bulgarian levs
what are you talking about?
super chat.
Thank you.
By the way, more and more articles and YouTubers are suggesting that GTA 6 will be around $100 for a copy.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem, given we all know GTA 6 will be a completely different game we've seen so far.
Yeah, different game than we've seen so far. I do think they're going to subvert expectations a good bit. I think they'll surprise us with a good amount of stuff. But I do think you're right. We're already seeing the ground being laid for the normalization of the $100 price tag, and I'm sure Take-Two is very excited about it. I'd say every day that goes by, every article, every post, it becomes more likely. I still think it's probably only a 20% chance that it costs $100 as base, but it's definitely not impossible. So, you know, I've said for a long time, I think the most likely route is that they make it cost $70 base, or maybe even 80 base. Maybe they push it a little. But I think they have a cheaper base price, but they do like a week of early access, digital only, for $150 for the like ultra deluxe whatever version. That's my guess. I don't think it's very likely that base price is $100. Maybe they do it. Yeah, it's not impossible, but I'd say it's like 15-20% chance. Yeah, I really don't think it's likely, but because it's not just about the US, it's about internationally. $100 base price for Canada is going to be like $5,000. For Australia and their dollary dues, that's going to be like $35,000 for a copy. You know, it's what happens when you have monopoly money for a currency. I mean, you basically run into trouble. So it's not as simple as just make it cost $100. You know, it has cascading effects everywhere else, for sure. Arik, thank you for the 2. I live in Canada, so I'm effed because of the $100 US. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think for the US, you might look at it and be like, oh, well, $100 US, we have this percentage of people willing to pay that. We could do that. I think they're looking at, like, you got to look at some of the other countries. Yeah, Brazil is really bad with it. They historically have major problems with currency conversions. So there's going to be problems there. There's also questions now with like how tariffs potentially affect this, if they can chase exemptions. Because when you're talking about a game that costs $2 billion to make, every percentage point, every decimal point in all of this matters. And so they're going to be very careful and very cautious and accurate with it, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Oh man. The important thing with GTA will be if they actually evolve the gameplay. If it plays pretty much like GTA 5, I'm going to dunk on it so bad. This is the thing, Mike Motorhead, is that Red Dead Redemption 2, when it came out, one of the primary complaints among the rare critique of it, you know, it was not common to bash it or anything. One of the common critiques of those that had critiques was that it played too similarly to the first game, that it didn't evolve the formula at all. It just seemed to slightly refine it. I think that's reductive. I mean, I think Red Dead added and reinvented a lot of it, mostly in the quality and how you actually went through some of the same motions. But yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that they basically did nothing. I think they did do a good amount, but I do think it's gonna play very similar to GTA 5, I think. Like, I don't think they're going
Neardrage
to
donated
reinvent the
20
wheel.
Bulgarian levs through Super Chat. Do you think, given how media is preparing all consumers for it to be 100 United States dollars, and what if TTWO decide to be like, you know what, we can actually do it even if they put a price tag to be around 70 to
70 to 80. Yeah, I mean, the reason that you're seeing a lot of these articles are just people, you know, because it's basic, it's getting clicks. So that's why you're seeing articles on it. But why you're seeing investors and financial analysts do it, and I mentioned this before, but basically what happens is different financial analyst groups and companies will each price a stock at a certain level. They might say, ooh, it's worth a lot of money. This person might say it's actually worth less money. This person might say, I hate the stock. I think it's a sell. It's not worth very much money at all. But they'll go through and they'll price the company the way that they feel is fair. And this kind of all converges into a standard, like generally agreed upon stock price of what's fair. And you can find these, I mean, this is how investment generally works, is that everybody kind of looks at all the analysts, figure out what the company is likely actually worth. And if you're saying the company's worth $100, and it's currently trading at 75, there's a chance at arbitrage right there. You buy it for 75, you make 25 bucks on the upswing once it reaches what it's actually worth. And then this trades up until the price equals what it's actually worth. What these investment firms are doing is they're basically signaling, hey, we think your company might be worth $100 a share, just to use a number, but we think it's only worth that if you're able to charge $100 for your game. Then I think it's worth $100 a share. If you don't do that, it's probably only worth 75. And so what does this do to the executive board at Take-Two? Well, their whole job is to get the stock price to go up. And so it's sort of like this weird backhanded blackmail to be like, yeah, it'd be a shame if we rated your company as not being worth as much. That would suck. That would be really lame. So what you see is that the company then listens to that feedback and they try to do it. You know, they push for it. There's other factors, like the fact that there's a potential if they price it at 100, less people, of course, will buy it because it's more expensive. And so at that point, you've got to find the balance between those 2 points. But there's definitely a lot of outside pressure on them to price it high and monetize the crap out of it. And I think they, you know, if they think they can get away with it, they will do it. Remember, Take-Two Interactive, parent company of Rockstar, they're the same company that normalized the $70 price point with NBA 2K, I think 20 or 21. They were the first ones to move to 70. So, like, it's very possible. They've literally done it just a few years before. Okay? Like, literally just did it. $2K21. Thank you, Bren. Yeah. KR Locks 41. Thank you for the sub with Prime, my friend. Thank you. Okay. Then Nintendo thought they could do that. I mean, the thing is, like, what happens? They price it at 70. That's the new normal. And then you get a game that releases at 60 and you see people saying, I'm going to buy it and support them. Even though I'm not going to play the game, I just want to support them, offering a good value to gamers. Or I wasn't going to buy it, but pricing at 60 below AAA pricing, I think is a good nod to gamers. So I'm going to support them that way. When really, like, they're still at AAA price. Like, they're just not at the uber AAA price. But it feels like they're being generous by selling it to you for 60, you know, even though if Take-Two hadn't normalized 70, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have been like, oh, yeah, full price, whatever. I don't think they do or go to 100. That jump would be so high, but 80, 85 could certainly be a thing. I think 80 would be a very safe bet. And I think, frankly, if they did 80, I think you'd see a lot of people just kind of being like, it's whatever. But 100 would be a big ball Big ball.
Neardrage donated
dick
20
move.
Bulgarian levs through Super Chat. I haven't been a big GTA fan, however Red Dead 2 is by far my favorite game and the most immersive game and graphically created to exist. What I'm hyped for GTA 6 is simply the engine they'll use for
RDR3. Yeah, I think there's a... I think there is a strong likelihood that what they do after GTA 6 is something new. It's like a new IP. There's that leak of there's one guy that posted to his LinkedIn. He got hired at Rockstar North, I think it was. And he put in his like profile that he was working on creating medieval assets, like medieval architecture, foliage, stuff like that. Which I don't know why you would need that in GTA, and I don't know why you would need that in Red Dead 3. So what is he working on? Nobody knows. But there's been a few other rumors and leaks suggesting that they might be working on a medieval game, that they might be working on something in a brand new IP, which I think is not impossible. But I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. Yeah. Okay. Let's finally talk about this. I keep beating around the bush. John, take a look now on your latest tweet. It's a PS link. On my latest tweet. You mean on the Split Fiction? I don't see it. Just like create a tweet and tag me in it and we can see. But I'm not seeing any comments or anything. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. Where did I put it? Okay. Neil Druckmann and Alex Garland interview. Okay. New segment. You ready? So there was recently an interview where Neil Druckmann spoke about their next game. And it's a long interview. There's a lot here. As you can see, it was posted to Sony 2 hours ago. It's creator to creator podcast. Two genre defining creators realize they've been influencing each other all along. Neil Druckmann, The Last of Us, Intergalactic, Heretic Prophet, and Alex Garland, 28 years later in Civil War, meet for a candid conversation on storytelling, pushing boundaries, tackling tough questions in the creative process. And they go through this. So they do this whole long interview. It's 53 minutes long. Naturally, I don't think we can watch the entire thing, but somebody did clip together some of the highlights and notable things about Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which of course is the upcoming game from Naughty Dog. Now, real quick, to catch you up on where I'm at, Intergalactic, Heretic, the Heretic Prophet, I just frankly think that this trailer was really bad as a trailer. Like, I just think it's a bad trailer. Doesn't mean the game will be bad, but I think the trailer is a bad trailer. I think if the trailer's goal is to get you introduced to a world and a universe and characters and get you excited for what the video game is going to be, I think this game, like this trailer, just doesn't really do that, for me at least. And I don't think I'm alone in that feeling. The game could be amazing. I just think it's a bad trailer because I think it doesn't tell you much useful information. Like they do some things which are graphically really impressive, big flexes and stuff like that. But based on this trailer, it seems to be like a knockoff Guardians of the Galaxy style game that's more dark and brooding. And that might end up being amazing, but I just think the trailer's not very good. So that's kind of where I'm at. The vibe, it doesn't do anything for me. I know some people love this like retro futuristic thing, very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque. I know some people love it. I just don't. It doesn't do anything for me. Doesn't mean it's bad. I just don't really connect with it. It didn't work for me with Concord. It doesn't work with me here. Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, is whatever. I just, it's never really done much for me, but I know some people love it. This little snippet of what seems to be like a lead into what would be gameplay, you know, this hit happens, camera pulls back, and then gameplay starts. That seems interesting, but even then, like, this is the only part of the trailer that's really actually giving us a look at what the game actually could be. So ever since this trailer dropped, I've just been kind of like, you know, like, I wouldn't say that I'm excited for it because I just don't even know what it is yet. There's not much to work with, right? That being said, Rhino collected these tidbits on X, and these are from that interview. And so it's just kind of key bullet points and stuff. It's set 2,000 years, I think, in the future, in an alternative future. Timeline deviates from the 1980s, which is why you have all the 80s inspirations and things. The game is about faith and religion, which makes sense. Heretic prophet. A new religion starts with the timeline deviation. This is something they've alluded to previously as well. After the first prophet, many altered religion. Planet Semperia is where the religion is based. Communications were cut off 600 years ago. No one made it in or out. The protagonist, Jordan, crash landed. No idea what happened to its inhabitants. Emphasizes on being lonely. No companion is with you. The game is meant to take or make you focus on feeling lost and how things turned out the way that they did, and how to get off the planet. Which a lot of this is already known. Specifically that you're crash landed on a planet. You have to try to get off, but nobody's ever gotten off the planet before. You're also trying to reconnect with your crew, which is what's shown in this little like poster board section where you see the 5 aces mastermind dead or hiding. Then all these potential aliases. Cesar Maceda, they cross out some names here. ID photos for alias. And then this one's highlighted, known VIN variants, timestamp 4 years old. This is a dead end. Third largest safety deposit ship discovered empty weeks after theft. So they suggest that this is like a crew that robbed someplace and then they all split up and went into hiding. And now Jordan, the protagonist, is trying to reconnect the group for some reason, and they might be on the planet, or maybe they ended up on the planet, which is why she's going there. I think, but again, this is one of those things where I'm like, okay, so we're getting the gang back together. It's like that episode of Phineas and Ferb where they're trying to get the gang back together, the band. It's basically the story of this game. And knowing Neil Druckmann, I'm guessing the entire thing is going to be an allegory for some real world event or dispute. It could be great, but there's just not a lot to work with. It's your pirate game. How dare you? How dare you? I just think it's, hearing that there's no companion is really interesting, because one of the things that Naughty Dog kind of pioneered with the old Uncharted games was having a companion with the player to build relationships. And that was something that worked fantastically well. It was kind of honestly fascinating how well it worked. I think they were even surprised by it. But effectively, the idea was the player is, you know, they have the player character, but you don't really get to see into their mind unless there's a cutscene or unless they're writing in a journal or talking to the camera for some reason. So you're kind of limited. But if you put a companion, like gameplay companion, with the player, then you can have dialogue back and forth. You can build a relationship with that companion character by way of gameplay. So you think of The Last of Us. The best example is that you're playing through the game as Joel, who's a very capable fighter, who's very, rough and tumble, but he needs Ellie to get through some of the areas he's in. And so you kind of form this symbiotic relationship. And then he gets injured at one point in the game, and you take over control of Ellie and you start playing as Ellie without Joel. And it's a little jarring because you don't have the same inventory. You don't have the same stuff. it totally changes it. And you feel like exposed, you feel vulnerable as Ellie would. And so you built this relationship between the player and the characters through gameplay, and it can introduce new emotions, heighten tensions, raise the stakes, all sorts of stuff. And if they honestly are going to go through this with no companion, that I think would be surprising. What I'm braced for is for them to add a brace or something that allows for some discourse, between the player character and another character, as they show in this little tidbit here, talking to the lady on camera. I wouldn't be surprised if like you have a basically a radio and she's rambling at you constantly to share that dialogue back and forth and to prompt the player to like, oh, this is what the character's thinking because they're talking to this person and they're communicating what they're thinking. They hang up the call. Idiot. Oh, they didn't agree with the person they were talking to. There's all sorts of ways that you can kind of covertly communicate what somebody is feeling or thinking by way of putting characters together and kind of bouncing them off of each other. But looking at this, I mean, I just find this to be a very interesting route for Naughty Dog to take. It's a new IP, which I think is going to creatively challenge them, which I appreciate. But even then, I don't think there's much to go on. Like, there's just not a whole lot. It could be great, but I think the next trailer, they need to do what they did with The Last of Us Part 2, which is just to drop like a solid 10 minutes of gameplay and just show why people should be really excited and thrilled. And I think they can do that. But I think it's, until that point, I think it's okay to be like, because it's just not a great trailer. It's like, I ticked off some people when I landed. I think I was on a flight when they announced this, and I landed and I tweeted out like, oh, surprised that Naughty Dog announced Concord 2. I thought it was a little funny because it's like retro futurism. It's, not a great trailer. I thought it was funny. I triggered some people hard. Some people got mad. I don't think it's gonna like flop or anything. I think the game is probably gonna be really impressive in many, 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 many ways. But I just think it's a really bad trailer. I just think it's a bad trailer. Remember when Intergalactic Girl jumped? Remember when she jumped? It was super cool. Yeah, where's her hot sauce? Like hot sauce guy in Concord's trailer. Now that would have been a good trailer. If she, instead of was like just sitting there, was eating some dish with hot sauce, that could have been really cool. Yeah, that could have been really good. Honestly, I don't think it'll sell well. The problem, Defeater Eater, is that there's like literally nothing to go on. And that's where I'm at. Like normally with trailers, we can look at it, we can break it down, we can sink our teeth into it. But with this, there's just not much to go on. They show you a lot on this wall, like just a lot of information. Disorganized acting alone, painted blue, silver, black, back to blue, no Mars print. Like they have all this stuff, pictures of space yachts and things. But like this isn't an established IP. We don't know these characters. There's not much to go on. Like again, I just think as a trailer trying to introduce a new world to us, it shouldn't be a surprise that people are like, so it's like knockoff Guardians of the Galaxy is what we're doing. Even though I don't think that's what it's actually going to play like. I think it's going to play much more isolated, much more dark and gritty. Like I think that's how it's going to play. But I don't blame people for having that perception. We're just gonna have to wait a year. Yeah, teaser, guys, teaser. Yeah, it's a teaser, and I think the people that are saying, "Well, looks like Naughty Dog has another Game of the Year on their hands," it's like, nope, it's too early for that. I think it is a teaser, but I think the teaser cuts both ways. I think it's unreasonable to be extremely hyped for something we know nothing about, and it's also unreasonable for people to be like, "Yup, flop incoming." I'm like, maybe it is, but I just haven't seen anything to suggest that. Okay, let's see. Much more better. Edgar, thank you for the 5. It's supposed to be Akira and Cowboy Bebop inspired. Yeah, like, I think it's good that they're trying something just totally new and different. I think we all would have kind of sighed if they announced The Last of Us Part 3 and it was just like, oh, here we go again. Because that franchise is just exhausting emotionally. And I think it needs breathing room to remain impactful. But we'll see. We'll see how this works. Samaya, Luke rambles about Intergalactic having nothing to go on. Also, Luke makes a 20-minute video rambling about it. Yeah, no, that's how we do it, man. That's how we do it. I have the gift of gab, as they say. Rob, thank you for the 5. Does AC Shadows review code include the day 1 patch? Didn't Ubisoft say the day 1 patch was really important? I don't know if they've said the day 1 patch is really important. I mean, I'm sure most devs would say that the day 1 patch is important. That wouldn't surprise me, because there's if it weren't important, why would it exist, you know? But how it works for all reviews is that they will give you access to the game on like the most recent build possible. And then the day 1 patch that goes out on day 1, you get access to it typically at that point. If it's available pre-launch, they'll call it like a day 0 patch. What happened with like Callisto Protocol was that they tried to patch it during the review period, which fixed a lot of the problems that we found in the review period, but then they patched it with the day 1 patch, which re-broke everything. And so there were a lot of problems, but all of that to say, typically what happens is you play the game, the day 1 patch drops, I mean, often right after the review embargo. So often you don't even get the day 1 patch. You might get a day 0 patch, but the day 1 patch is usually like specifically for launch. I'm just going to buy Shadows. I don't trust any reviewer to bother talking about the gameplay in detail while playing on hard mode. Those are the only takes I'm interested in. Okay. The thing I can tell you is that when the review embargo lifts, of course, I'm able to talk about the game. So if the review embargo lifts and, on the 18th and we do a stream, if you have questions about it, you can come in and ask me in chat and I can tell you about it. We can talk about it. I have to wait until that day, but yeah, if you have specific questions about something like that, yeah, we can do that. Okay, let's see. Close that, close that, close that. Okay, speaking of Assassin's Creed, maybe we do this. What do you think of Adamfall? Will you be playing it? I actually have the preview video pulled up for it, so we're going to look at that. Yeah. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. So, new segment. Are you ready? Let's do it. I haven't dug into the next Assassin's Creed game a ton just because not much is known, and it would mainly be speculation at this point. But you know what? Speculation can be fun, so long as it's clearly understood that it is just speculation. My frustration with some people is that they mix speculation and then they call it like rumors. It's like, no, this isn't a rumor. We are literally just spitballing. But as long as we're clear, I think you can have fun with it. The game, of course, I'm talking about is AC Hexe, and Assassin's Creed Insider put together a little thread speculating about what some of this could be while doing research into the period in which it's set. So as with all of this, as we kind of go through his thread and look at some of the things he brings up, bear in mind, this is all speculation based on the little slivers we know. What we do know about Hexe is, of course, it was revealed at the same time. I actually believe that Shadows was initially revealed. AC Hexe trailer. And this, Yeah, it's literally 29 seconds long. It was this one, if you remember, where they drop down through the forest. Spooky sounds. Spoopy! It do be spoopy. Assassin's Creed codename Hexe. And that's literally all we've seen. Now, there's been some rumors, actual rumors. There's been some speculation, of course. And there's also been some like leaks as to what we can kind of expect to see. What is crucial to understand about all this Assassin's Creed stuff, though, is that Ubisoft is changing strategies with it, okay? After Valhalla, it seems that there was a moment where they paused and said, we have an option. We can go, technically it would have been like towards the end of the production of Valhalla, but you get what I mean. They had a moment where they said, okay, we can either keep doing these massive games like AC Valhalla, where it kind of is built to try and appeal to everybody. It has people that like little roguelike stuff. It has stuff that appeals to the people who like narrative stuff. It has the RPG mechanics. It has the melee combat. We have little bits of stealth, but not much. And so each of these like little niches are tried, they try to appeal to them and get them to buy AC Valhalla, which has little things that are trying to appease them. But as a result, it just doesn't do anything great. It does everything kind of okay, but it just doesn't do anything amazing. What they're trying to do now is something different. So they're shifting forward from Valhalla, and they're going to try and have dedicated experiences to get people in those niches actually happy. So what they're doing is they're going to have a game for multiplayer fans. They're going to have a game for stealth fans. Think of like Mirage. They're going to have a dedicated game from that team focused on stealth. They have big games like Shadows, which are like big open world adventure games, maybe less like focused on role play or certainly multiplayer, but they're trying to fit that niche, the people that liked Odyssey and Valhalla and those games. And then they're going to have other games like Black Flag Remake, which appeals to the old school fans, the people who like the nostalgia. Loxy, geez, thank you for 6 gifted subs on Twitch. My goodness. Thank you. Very generous. My goodness. And then over here, they're going to have other games like Hexe, which are trying to appeal to a different crowd entirely, which is like the people that are really interested in more linear narrative stuff. That's who they're really trying to appeal. That's who they're trying to get, So I think that this is actually a good idea, frankly. I'm okay with this. I agree, Rexosaurus Rex. I think that it can print money if done right. The danger is if it's not marketed correctly, what's going to happen? You're going to have Shadows launch, and whatever it ends up being received as, pretty good, bad, amazing, terrible, whatever it ends up being, it launches. And then they lead forward to the Black Flag remake. I think people understand, oh, it's a remake, remaster, whatever. So this is kind of like a one-off thing. Okay. But then there's rumors of like a multiplayer game that they're working on. Well, that comes out. If it's not marketed precisely as like, this is a smaller experience for people who want multiplayer Assassin's Creed content. If it's not marketed very, very clearly and precisely, you're going to have people going, oh, so AC, after Shadows, they were so devastated, they pivoted and made it multiplayer. And you're going to be fighting an uphill battle on people raging about it. So you have to frame these things very precisely. And I think after a few years, people will kind of get it, that you are breaking up these experiences to do each of them well, as opposed to try to cram them all into one game and do them all okay. So I think that this is a good way of doing it, but I think it has to be marketed very precisely. And of course, the execution has to be good. That should go unspoken. Like, everybody should kind of be on the same page with that. we should all agree they have to do a good job, but that's, a given, hopefully. But if they can deliver a solid remake of Black Flag, a solid multiplayer experience that's reminiscent of like older games, or maybe introduces a new experience that people connect with that gives them a little taste of Assassin's Creed and makes them happy. Or who knows, maybe it's going to be something that just is like designed to appeal to a totally different crowd. And then they go forward and they release the next game from the Mirage crew, which is like the stealth game, right? All about sneaking around and being crazy. They release that. And then they release Hexe, which is going to be more linear and narrative. And then they go forward to the next big game, which is, I don't actually know what the next, after Shadows, what the next like big game is. It might be the 3 location one that's rumored to take place in like the Mayan Empire, or like the with the Aztecs and stuff. I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's another big one after all of this. So their goal is to basically every 9 to 12 months have a new AC experience for people that's a little bit different. And that could work if they are actually unique and good. So it's not the worst idea. I think it actually could work. But Hexe is an interesting one because this is being made by the Montreal team. Now, Montreal, they're the guys that made AC Black Flag. They made AC Origins. And they made AC Valhalla. Now, what's weird about that is that Black Flag, AC Origins, and AC Valhalla were directed by a guy named Ashraf Ismail. This guy. And this whole thing was interesting because is he still there actually? Click. Loading. Of course, dude, I cannot stand LinkedIn. LinkedIn's so bad, dude. Like, what is this? You're not gonna let me look at his experience without signing in? What are we doing, man? I cannot stand LinkedIn. Oh, it's literally the worst social network on the planet. It's horrible. Anyway, separate thing. Having said all that, Ashraf was the director. He was the creative director on Black Flag. He also was the creative director on Origins. In May of 2020, he resumed the role again for the team making AC Valhalla, but he faced allegations of infidelity and sexual impropriety